Welcome to the overview on helping students focus on text structure. Helping students understand how different types of texts are structured can greatly improve their reading comprehension. As students gain a firm grasp of narrative and informational text structures, they can apply that knowledge when they approach more advanced materials. This process can begin as early as kindergarten. Let's look first at introducing children to narrative texts, which can be described as texts that tell stories about characters. This covers a wide range from folk tales to biographies. Students can learn how to identify and understand the 5 main elements of structure in narrative text: characters, setting, problem, plot, and resolution. Teachers can introduce students to tools and techniques to help them remember the story elements. For example, students can count them off, associating one element with each finger on their hand. Story maps or graphic organizers can also be used to teach the parts of a story, such as a chart that helps students match structure to content, a sequencing activity for younger students in which they rearrange a scrambled list of pictures to accurately represent the sequence, or a diagram of the plot that connects major action points within the story. When introducing these tools, teachers should explain how each tool or strategy can help students understand what they are reading. This way, students are more likely to think about the story elements as they read, and not just when the tools are used in class discussion. Instruction on text structure will look different across grade levels. For kindergarten students, teachers can identify narrative elements by asking questions while reading, such as, where does this story take place? Who was the main character? What was the problem? What did the character do to solve the problem? How did the story end? As students get comfortable with the 5 elements, teachers can introduce stories with multiple examples of each element and have students identify each of them. For example, with Little Red Riding Hood, the setting is both the woods and grandmother's house. With older students, teachers should gradually introduce new structural elements, such as themes, morals, subplots, and multiple conflicts, while reinforcing those that have already been taught. Teachers should also introduce students to the structural elements of informational or expository text. For beginning learners, it's important to use texts that provide clear, easy-to-recognize examples of the structure being taught. Examples of informational text structures include compare and contrast, description, sequence, problem and solution, and cause and effect. A compare and contrast text might present types of animals or modes of transportation. Students can work together to create a table or Venn diagram of the similarities and differences between the objects in the text. With a description text, students might use the details of what is being described to draw an illustration or create a 3-dimensional display. A text that outlines a sequence of events can be made visible by assigning each event in the text to a student and having the class line the students up in the correct order. When working with a problem and solution text, students may be able to act out key parts of the passage. Cause and effect texts can be explored by matching up pictures that represent causes and effects in a game-like activity. Students can also be helped to recognize clue words in a passage so they can identify the text structure. Words such as alike, unlike, both, but, and however can signal a compare and contrast text, while before, after, next, and then can indicate a sequence of events text. It is important, however, that students are not taught to rely solely on clue words to identify text structure. As students grow more adept at working with informational texts, examples can move from short passages to paragraphs to larger texts that may contain multiple structures. For example, a magazine article may include a description of an event, some information about its position in a sequence of other events, and an explanation of cause and effect. Teachers should provide a variety of examples when showing students how texts can contain more than one structure. Students should be encouraged to pay attention to text structure in all their reading experiences and may need to be reminded to do so before reading periods. Teachers can use common lesson planning time to collaborate on identifying texts with clear examples of narrative elements and expository structures. There are also book lists that identify ideal texts for this kind of instruction. Students can focus on structure as they discuss text or practice comprehension strategies. Understanding the underlying features of texts will support them as readers and writers, as well as in their conversations about text.